folks, welcome to the Historical Fencing Guild's weekly live stream. As usual, we are getting the ball rolling and we're going to be talking about, swords and other shenanigans. We seem to be having a bit of feed issue, so I'm going to switch some stuff up to try to lighten the load. Wow. That's never happened before. Complete freeze. So, wow. Okay, here we go. Sorry about that. Thanks for sticking around. And we are, as usual, live today. Sorry, we had some technical difficulties for a second, and I had a really great freeze. Hi, thanks for watching. Smash the like button, and be sure to comment so I know who I'm talking to. As usual, the Historical Fencing Guild is brought to you by my patrons, available through my Patreon, which will be in the gobbledygook at the end when I post this video, and you can find it in any of my other links. Just look up the Historical Fencing Guild Patreon. Look for the little white boot. It'll be right there. Hold on. So, it is a dark day in De Montfort. We have to mourn the loss of one of my dear friends, my beloved CRKT minimalist knife. It was not damaged; it is just lost. We suffered a major storm that decided to pick up my rolling dumpster garbage cans and start juggling them around in my front yard at, say, 2-3 o'clock at night. So being me, I had to go out and get them. In the process of wrangling these and dealing with some other things that literally were blowing around, I was struck by a few things, and in the process, my neck knife we were under 50, 60 mile an hour winds, which is nothing new. I may find it, I may not, but I have had a sleepless night because this is my comfort animal. Hello, and we are joined by the lovely Ren Contessa, one of my favorite YouTubers who doesn't have anything up yet. Now, longtime viewers will know when I have 2 sources of caffeine, it's going to be an interesting show. Why is that? Because I'm running on 1.5 hours of sleep and about the same on my machine. So, I may have been all hooked up trying to steal some oxygen and glorious air to get my lungs growing so I can run this video for you. Now, the other ways we support my channel, of course, is through the Simple Sword, which is my manual volume 1 of the Historical Fencing Guild's Manual of Defense, or how to learn sword fighting. I am sorry, we're having some tremendous internet issues today, and hence my lovely freeze frame at the beginning. I hope you guys at least find that entertaining. Now, we're going to talk about quite a few things today, and I know there were things planned, but in my sleep-addled state, I am fighting the stuttering and rolling through to try to talk about what works and what doesn't, and some things that are coming up, because there's good stuff coming up. In the near future, obviously, I'm going to have to replace this, so it'll take I'm probably going to save up a bit. There has been rumblings of a donation, and my wife smiled at me funny, so I'm not sure how this is going to go. I'm eyeballing the cheaper knockoff, just because that's kind of who I am. I got this on a sale, and if the universe collides and somehow I find my old one and I get the cheaper, I may do a neck knife review. There's also a new variant of the Cricut Minimalist that I did not know about that is so geeky it sort of appeals to yours truly. Now, and this is the mind that brought you the Hello Karambit, once again shown for the love and joy of Rending Steve. Now, people asked me last week, a little after through Messenger, where did I get the design for the Hello Karambit? Well, it was originally based on this. This is a karambit, I want to say by Wuja. I think it's Wuja is the company. If not, I'll keep an eye out. And I'm going. This was donated to me by I believe Steve Clausen in an effort to get me to like these things. And I will say this: I went from hating them to realizing they're really nice fidget spinners. And I have to remind myself when I'm on video conference with my coworkers and people like the amazing Luke Stone who runs Terraform Comics. Don't play flippy knife games with the knife trainer. It makes people uneasy. The more you know. Now, the reason I brought this up is because I had another message asking me about hard versus soft trainers, and that I can finally give you a side-by-side relative example. This is a hard trainer. This by itself would function as a defensive tool. I have absolutely no doubt that this could be used for control, for modifying locks, point pressure. You can do some dastardly things with one of these, and they're quite sturdy. Now, the weird thing about a karambit is it's a very offensive weapon, okay? And there isn't a lot of defense inherent in a karambit. You're not going to do a lot of blocking. And right, if there's anything I can do to brighten your day, night, evening, whatever's going on in that with that evil orb still in the sky, you let me know. But what else are we good? But anyway, defensive. So you can obviously counterpunch. This is more of a tool of applied aggression. But with this, you learn technique, control. This, while squishy and relatively disposable, is for stabbing the P-mortal stuffings out of your friends and not really hurting them. Now, we had a whole stack of interesting questions and commentary come in. People really like the side video. If you guys like the side video, let me know. And if you'd like me to extend to more Eastern style weapons, I do have the Jiwajin. I also, let me check my messenger. I will remind you that my messenger is on for this, for the people who know me through Facebook and want to ask questions. I see 2 viewers and 1 like. Guys, don't be afraid of that like button. So I'm just checking through the questions before we get into the book or we get into the commentary. Let's see. Ooh, excuse me. All right, yes. I got some armoring questions. What's my favorite type of armor? My favorite type of armor is as close to the Iron Man armor as I can get. But the idea of an augmented armor should be mobile. It should cover you. It should match the weapons you're using. And this is something that's going to come out, and it might be I might be just going straight for a kidney punch on this one. But when I was a fencer in the SCA, and I was involved in the Middle Kingdom, we fenced with, this is the closest one I can find. Rapiers. Now, I need to clean this guy up a little bit, but these can put a tremendous amount of force on an impact before flexing. They're much sturdier than, say, epées or certainly foils, but they come with a tremendous amount of impact can be issued. Why does that matter, Nick? Where are you going with that? We're talking about armor, not this. The weapons during the time I was there, and I've not double-checked to see, but the armor does not, in my opinion, match the weapons. What does that mean? It is puncture-resistant, as close to puncture-proof as they can get to protect somebody from a broken blade. Okay. And I have heard a couple cases of rapier blades breaking, not nearly as often as epée or like foil from, aggressive styles. One second, Caffeine. Mountain Lightning is somewhere between Mellow Yellow and Mountain Dew, and I'm not sure that's a bad thing. But when you're fighting, you need to make sure your gear matches what you're fighting. Now, if you're fighting buffers and you're not supposed to take headshots, wear head protection anyway. But Nick, it's in my game they're not supposed to. I have friends who've had torn corneas, ripped ears from buffers. Why? Because what happens from a hit is fine. But a draw cut with a buffer can be incredibly abrasive and tearing. And people don't think about that. They're like, it's padded, it's safe. It's interesting to see how that's evolved from regular buffers to more of the plastidip style weapons. I will tell you this, some of those plastidip rapiers, they tempt me, friends. They tempt me. If I had a group that I could tolerate in the area, which I have no idea what I have in my area right now because COVID-19 has us locked down and not coming out. It's still broke. Absolutely. I know people who've had broken ocular bones. And because, PVC core. Some of those hit still quite stout. And you have to calibration. You can't have fun if it's not safe. Right about now, somewhere Steve, my dear friend Steve Clausen, is rising up from the bowels and he's saying, I can have fun without it being safe. It's all fun and games till someone loses an eye and then they end up hanging upside down from the tree of knowledge. But yes, they do. And Red would know. And there's some bits of knowledge I never can know. The name and background too much of the individual who is responsible for Ren knowing that is something I'm not allowed to know. I've been very careful not to ask, and if I have, I've very deliberately forgotten because, tempt not thy Nick. Another point is, these guys, Flexi Blood daggers, which apparently I've heard some rumors that they're actually banned now. And as much as I hate to say it because they're relatively inexpensive, I can't fault that. They hit very hard because of the small area and they don't flex much. I'm still a fan of classical rapier with classical training with foils because that's what it was made for. Foils are my friend. I need to play more. It's been too long since I played with the sabers because I'd like to look at. I just want to get another feel of the saber, and maybe one of my friends when practice opens up can bring a modern saber, the heavier modern sabers by because there was a while where they got real whippy, and that just didn't work. But I will admit I was up all night because I kind of had this was my baby. It sounds funny, but I have faith. You have to have faith in the universe. Nothing gets taken from you that doesn't have a purpose, and it won't work. Now remember, this guy, I haven't gotten to this because this has been a very, very busy week for me on mundane, mortal, unfun to talk about here things. But in the off chance that this doesn't get its mate back, I should be able to take the blade and here, let me put it where you can see, and then just sheath here, and I might just bulk up the handle and just see if I can't make myself a neck knife trainer because CRKT, the Columbia River knife T. I can't remember what the T trading. Anyway, I need to make a trainer of that. I actually want to make a trainer of this little Sheffield guy, too, because it's remarkably light, and I've carried it for a while, and it's one of my favorite, if I have to carry a box cutter, I find myself liking this more than some of my more ornate ones, just because this is, well, I mean, it's almost non-existent. You're going maybe 3 ounces, maybe. I'd have to think about that. Maybe less. This is an incredibly light, because it's plastic, so it's not like combative grade, but for work grade, tool grade, yeah, this thing works great. And I really find myself liking this blade profile. I'm actually tempted to try to make a trainer with this as a blade profile and then give it an additional blade. Give me just a second. I'm removing the blade because I'm gesturing and I'm looking at you guys, and we don't want me to be dumb. And I feel like the universe was leaning towards accidental stabbery, and we don't want accidental stabbery. If there's stabbery, it better be intentional. I really want to make a lightsaber joke about this thing, just a light box cutter, but that's good too. We'll just let that go. Still, this is a very surprisingly nice little grip profile that's surprisingly locked in. So that might be a project. Getting back to the armor thing, though, what would I say? Okay, Nick, you've made a statement. You've said that the armor doesn't match the damage, in that the concussive force of the thrusts, which are notorious for leaving purple prints all over people. And ask Trelena, ask Jason Leto. He sometimes comes around. Definitely, you could talk to Al. He's at least seen it and then said we're insane. And Amanda's great for it too. Ren's great for it. The purple spots of death from somebody with poor calibration poking the hell out of you. If you're going to have that, that means the armor's failing in my mind. Like, well, you need to feel it. Do I? Do you? Is that ego or is it bad armoring? You decide. This is why I do a lot of hybrid armor, and I'd recommend. I would love to see a group like this because they have hard for very rigid gorget relative to everything else. So that it's not that far. At least a kidney belt, obviously groin protection, which should be there. And I'm a plastron man. I will always say plastron, plastron, plastron. If you cannot afford a plastron, buy a sheet of HDPE and make one. I did a video on that, I think. I know we talked about it, and there's a half-finished, thanks to the disease running amok, project to Jim's, where we're making him some new body armor. Nick, when are you going to make your own body armor? About the time I start putting myself forward. And we all know how that's going to go. So, digression. Let's see. What else? I had a question because it was more boffery stuff, and that's cool. Guys, LARPies don't have to suck. Wow, that is the most arrogant thing I think I've said in some time. But what I mean is some of my favorite people I know, like Durian, Amanda, and Steven I think I missaid their name. Anyway. Exactly. Ren says, and everyone needs groin and chest protection. Sensitive bits are not for only one sex. If you want to see me go off, there are certain aspects in films and art. I'm an artist, and I am a shockingly big fan of the female body. I enjoy the aesthetics of females, of our species. It's just a thing. This happens. And when I see bad female armor, there is female armor, folks. This does exist. But female armor doesn't look like weaponized lingerie. Sorry. You want to put that in a comic book? Awesome. That's what comic books are for. amongst other things. But, you want to put that in a fantasy piece? Sure. Your sword and sandals bit? Great. You want to fight? Nope. Chest protection, folks. Repeated blows have been known to cause breast cancer. There's a link. I'm not a doctor, but I have seen this from people far smarter than me, and I respect my friends and I respect the subject of breast cancer severely enough to recognize and to comment on that. So, plastron, solid. Now that doesn't mean it can't be curved. I have seen some beautiful female armor that was comfortable, especially for ladies of a bustier persuasion. But all that being said, we got to talk. If we're going to talk about female armoring, and I'm going to get back to your question about boffer prep, because that has to be a good question. Female armor has to move like females, and believe it or not, the biologically female anatomy is structurally different. Now, one key thing is the grip. I am an anomaly. Everyone's really aware of that. I'm gonna make fists. This is what a male fist looks like. It is a very boxy, very square, very bulked item. The impact hits here, it shoots straight down. This is a male fist. A female fist aligns like this. Now, I'm not doing anything special. See, I can fake it, but you see it start to crumble. A female fist leads at an angle. The tendons move differently in a female hand. What does that mean? That means, and there's about 5% overlap. 5% of men have female wrists. 5% of women have male wrists, and then you have me. I don't know if mine is a subject of tendon damage or if it's just another bizarre anomaly. We're not really going to worry about that. But what that means is if you try to make a woman throw a punch squared off like, God, this actually physically hurts to even hold my fist like that. You can see it just start to crumble after it pops. But throw that straight punch and hold the sword locked in straight at this very. So I need a small-ish. But I want something a little more tubular. Sorry. Both. No, not you. You'll do fine. Male fist. Male ice pick grip. Ooh. If I'm striking, bam, bam, this still holds up. If I try to do that here, you can see the tension. And I strike. Shooting pains can go right through here. Yes, absolutely. It's way easier to break the third bone in your hand. Get that boxer's break as a female. The female grip naturally inclines itself more towards a thrusting grip. It does different things. So you have to allow that it's not going to look like this. There is a book. I cannot find my copy. I need to order another copy. It's called The Armored Rose. And it was written by an SCA heavy fighter. I can't remember her name. My brain just went. But it's phenomenal in talking about showing the pivot difference. Okay. The biomechanics of a woman, if you think about the way a guy usually walks, okay, and the hip motion, and the locomotion of a woman's hips, which tend to be wider and they're angled differently, this is so that eventually they can theoretically facilitate childbirth. Guys tend to like that motion, Well, think about this. If there's a rocking motion mechanically in a woman's hips, you need to articulate the edges of the armor if you're going to do something that skirts down solid so that there is room either with looser skirting or actually having lames that close up because their hips are going to move differently. Another one is the female knee. Very often has a slight bit of musculature difference that tends to bulge out the inside, more so on larger ladies. This means that, I've done it more than once. I'm not surprised you've done it more than once. This is why you should be fencing with me and not punching people who may or may not deserve it. And that's why there are firearms in this world. And I am a big fan of a nice SBR for a lady such as yourself. Ain't nothing like an SBR in my opinion. But one of these days in the near future, we're gonna work with Ren because she really could use a lighter rig, longer than this maybe, but the weight will taken off, or a modified foil. And when everything settles, I'm gonna get a hold of you, and we're going to design you something truly diabolical. And if I can get my forge going, there may be some really neat custom stuff. I have the parts. It's been physically mechanical because my back's been so bad. I normally have to wear a back brace everywhere. But since I'm sitting for these videos, I can take it off and ease the distribution on my shoulders for a bit. I am held together with spit and baling wire half the time, I swear. I am a jalopy of a man at this point, and I make no qualms about it. But, so, look into this. And part of the neat things is, the female rap shot. I can't talk enough about it. Learning how to throw that shot as a man, which my left hand does, versus the smoothness of doing it with the female. Ladies should be learning this because men traditionally, when I find male fighters of a concussive style, heavy fighters usually, they tend to be very, I'm going to jump in your shorts. Especially with smaller or female fighters. They want to get in and do the job. Hello, Sydney Cap. And yes, absolutely, Ren. Maybe we'll do a cross-channel promotion thing. Great things are coming your way. I have absolute faith in your universe. Sydney Cap, we're here, and we're actually discussing a little bit about female anatomy in fighting and the gear, because a lot of gear isn't where it needs to be. And Cindy was an old school SCA fencer from, I'm not sure which kingdom you were a member of. I'm sure you told me, but I believe it was in one of the epee-wielding sane kingdoms, unlike the Middle Kingdom, which uses my much beloved rapiers and schloggers. And schlogger just hits every time I say it, like the sauerkraut in my soul rises to the front, and the shadows of the black forest close in, and I want to make like apple strudel. Yes, I want to know nothing and eat something with potatoes and sauerkraut. But yes, Astoria. Okay. Anyway, so I'm sure you've heard of the book The Armored Rose. If you haven't, especially given how you're writing, you really need that as one of the most effective reference materials, especially designed for women. I was asked to write a book. I was approached, Nick, you're writing books. Are you going to do a female fighting book? And to date, I have elected not to. Not because I couldn't, but because an item of such extreme quality exists. I don't want to compete with that. Even if I want people to go there. I want any female heavy fighter and anyone who wants to really look at the mechanics of female arming and female fighting style, the variants that happen. I really want them to have that because it's just that good of a reference. There are things I just fall back to. If somebody asks me what manuals should I look into, if I don't know, if it's like you need one and I know next to nothing about you, I will always say Gigante. Nicola Gigante's the Soleil. I prefer the Tom Leone translation. There are a couple new ones, and a buddy of mine did one that was pretty good. But I'm still going to go with the one I like best. If you want DVDs on that subject, fencing, Maestro Ramirez, if you can afford it through Palpable Hit, has La Verdadera Destrenza. Wonderful. Oh, Carla Hawk. Cool. Cindy Cap says you might also check out Carla HOCH. Yeah, sorry. My dyslexia got way a hold of that word for a moment, as it occasionally does when I'm at this range and I'm bouncing between screens. So there are some good resources. If I can find my copy of the other book, I'll do a full review. I am planning, off topic, but we're kind of all over the place tonight anyway. I'm planning to do a lot of review videos because I realized I've been doing mid-video reviews, like, the Wuja Karambit. I like the grip. So it's a very aggressive curve compared to some. The retainer hole's not too bad. I find it fits me. It's too small for several of my friends because they have great meat hooks for hands. But that's why we have custom trainers. But, I should do a review of this. So what will probably happen, hopefully as early as this week, will be a series where I'm just going to set up my cell phone and just be like, I'm reviewing this product. I've bought this product. This is what this product does. And then I will throw them here and then link them to the product, probably through Amazon, because the Zon is what pays my bills. How so? Because they're the ones who publish my books. Never be afraid to shamelessly plug yourself. That sounded terrible, but I'm going to let it go. I'm going to go with it. Alrighty. That being said, I got a question, and a really great question. Nick, you recommend... okay. And you are another preferred Anon. Okay. Anon says, Nick, you talk about making PVC as trainers, especially for staves and canes, and making sheaths for your weapons out of PVC. It's a great tool. I have a little car. I have the solution. This device. I do not go to Menards without this device in my pocket, largely because I've had to buy them, and occasionally I've ended up giving them to people who needed them. And what this little device does, it does two really neat things. It has a reamer for helping you do mating between pipes, but this lets you just screw onto a chunk of PVC. It digs this little blade in, and then you just twist it around a couple times, and it snaps, and it cuts clean. It cuts fast. This weighs nothing, makes no noise, and that lets you buy the cheap 10-foot chunk of half-inch PVC that you're going to make into trainer swords or canes, or the inch diameter gray conduit. A lot of times it's much cheaper to buy it in a 10-foot length and then trim it. So I'm notorious. I used to be notorious for being out front of it was the Menards in Portage, Indiana. And I'd just be, twist this guy up and go. These guys are found in the plumbing section, and this one's good from 1/8 an eighth of an inch to 1/8 of an inch. Just you get one of these and you either leave it in your car or you leave it in your pocket. They're less than $10. I've seen them as cheap as like $4. I think I paid $5 for this one because because I'd given my other one away to a guy who was in a bad spot. It's almost like that happens to me a lot. But so this guy is going to be is one of my favorite tools, and it will be one of yours. So anybody making boffer weapons and using a PVC core should buy one of these. It's faster than a hacksaw. It's almost faster or close to an electric with no noise, no nasty dust. Well, okay. Yes, I hit a point that's really valid and always needs to be mentioned. I have a couple of those N95 masks. Why do I have N95 masks? Was I precognitive and knowing a viral plague was descending upon us all? Am I a super prepper? No, I cut HDPE, I cut PVC, do things with metal, I do things with aluminum, do things with resources that I do not want to inhale. And I had one or two. My good buddy Jim hooked me up with a nice stack of them at one point, and that's for safety. This is why masks are not new to me. If I could sword fight with a gorget choking me out, a hood half covering my mouth, every scrap of flesh covered under basically ballistic nylon cooking alive, we can wear our masks. But digressions, which this whole video, man, this is not one of my more planned or scripted videos, folks. So be sure to keep hitting me with your questions or comments. Okay, back to the original arms. Well, what if you're doing concussive stuff, Nick? What if you're getting your smack, hack on? Smack, hack. Another serious martial arts term. Make sure your gear matches what you're doing. Leather is good. Leather is beautiful if you can afford it, and I really do enjoy leather making. I haven't done a lot of it lately. It's one of the arts that I do that has just fallen away to lack of opportunity, necessity, etc. But I think if you're looking into armoring, understand leather is a good thing. Understanding the process of doing a copper rivet. Oh yeah, my dad reflexes are firing off on that one. Ooh yeah. But if you're planning to fight hard, at least over the joints, okay? I like composite armor, which is hard with padding under it. There are a couple ways you can do it. The classic gambeson with plates that either tie on or layered. I was asked, why do I not fight in plate carrier? I have fought in a plate carrier. I have. I actually made a plastic and pardon me, I'm downing way too much Mountain Dew. Plastic and cat pad insert for a plate carrier. But that design is great for keeping bullets from ventilating your torso. It's not really the best for fight training. What do I think is the best? There's some really gorgeous composite armor done by like that Polish, I believe it's Polish, SPES, and I'm not sure if it's Spez or if it's spelled out, but they make some great stuff. Destroyer Mods make some great stuff. They used to have a light armored hoodie that I lusted after, but it did not come in fatty sizes, and it got discontinued because people were buying it because it was sufficient enough for a lot of the light to medium grade fighting, which is about where I prefer to live. if somebody's going to the effort to plaster me because that's the fighting style, I think I'm going to step forward historically and use something that goes bang instead of thunk or slice. I'm a little guy. We're prone to such things. Uh, so we're just gonna keep rolling on these questions, comments, and anything else. Uh, oh, so he's asleep. Cool. Okay. Fun SCA skill. Carrying. Oh, absolutely. Fun carrying a 10-foot PVC pipe through Home Depot as if it were a pipe. Not many people. I worked for Home Depot for a while. I was a merchandising execution. I was on the merchandising execution team. We had the orange shirts and we put stuff together. So the most fun involved that job because I walked everywhere with my little 2-pound sledge on my hip, and that is a beautiful, beautiful feeling. Because there aren't a lot of problems I couldn't solve with that 2-pound sledge. It was my running joke is my throwing hammer. Because I tested. For a while there, I had range with that boy. Whonk. I'd get bored with throwing. There'd be too much axe and knife throwing. We get bored. Whonk. Whip one of those. There's a bit of dwarf in me, I think. For all my gnomish, hobbitish, brownie-like tendencies, there's always that little vein of dwarf that comes out. That being said, yes, Cindy, I love the fun of a 10-foot chunk of PVC or fiberglass. A 10-foot SCA fiberglass spear is a beautiful thing. And had I stayed in longer, I probably would have poured it over as a fencer to do that and then other things. Because, thank you. I have a little bit of dwarf in me, okay? Do you want a little bit of dwarf in you? Okay, that was a terrible joke. I should feel bad for it. I'm not going to, but I should. I'm a terrible human being because I got dwarf in me. It makes sense. Oh, God. Caffeine is a beautiful thing on an hour and a half of sleep. But we're just rolling right along. And I know this is another one of those punch jab. No one knows where you're going questions. I'm working through with stuff. Cindy kept, if you have, oh, good. I'm doing my job. Rankatess is laughing. I'm doing my job. Happy fat dance. Okay. If you like spear, there is a lovely article that's put out by Kung Fu Tai Chi magazine on Wing Chun Long Pole. This makes me happy. A long pole, we're going to stop and say, the history of this may not be true. There's some debate. But I will put this, to borrow the words of Michael Longcore, if it isn't true, it should have been. What would happen is this. In China, at a certain period, I am terrible with Chinese history, there were bargemen. And what they would do is they would use a 14-foot rat tail pole, which was about that big on one end and about that big on the other, and they would push the barge up the river. Very strong, very powerful men. Well, these men would then either ride, if they could, catch a ride, but a lot of times they ended up having to walk back down to get where they're going, and it was the tool of their trade, so they went everywhere carrying this. The problem is bandits rapidly figured out that if you see a guy walking down the river with a 14-foot pole, he got paid. So, one of these men is lamenting the fact he's been robbed again at a small stand bar next to a Buddhist monk. And the Buddhist monk looks at it. He's a very powerful man. Well, yes, I pull. Why do you not fight back? I'm like, all I have is this. I mean, what can I do with? I mean, it's too long to be useful. And they're drinking and they're thinking. And anybody who knows men or women too, you know, but those who imbibe tend to have that drinking thinking magic that comes out sometimes. And they got to thinking, and then they got to trying. They came up with this style. And the Wing Chun Long Pole, which is one of my, like I said, all-time favorite abbreviated styles to at least keep a foot in, is a simplified spear style for gigantic stick. And back before I stumbled across this, the spearmen in my group area were either you fought it like a glaive and need to be short, or you fought it like a spear and it was pretty much a bayonet with a lengthening. You know, there's a certain baroness known for lengthening bayonets, but thrusty spear, cool. This is a little more complicated, and it's basically a fencing variety of approach. I mean, you're breaking up into very similar quadrants. You're breaking your targets up and doing C disengages with a freaking spear. It's great. So they developed the style as a way for those dudes to defend themselves, and it worked swimmingly. Where is it good? Big open fields, obviously, or itty bitty spaces. Because if you can get a proper spearman in a hallway at a proper point, very little is getting past him. So if you enjoy that length, look into that. Hit me up. I think I might be able to find scans of that. It's an older magazine that's out of print and hard to get a hold of. But yeah, I got out of jury duty once because they asked, what magazines do you read? And they're going down the list, and it was Home and Garden, Sports Illustrated, Home and Garden, Newsweek, Sports Illustrated. I mean, Kung Fu Tai Chi magazine. Oh, hail to thee, Pike Lady. So Sydney Kemp says, I was briefly in a Pike Corps in Brindle. Oh God, my buddy Glenn, who's Welsh, will make fun of me for not saying Brindwald. Yeah, that's as close as my speech impediment can get. But since I have to bite my tongue to do English, we'll let that go. There are aspects of the society I miss. Enunciating some of that stuff is not one of them. Oh, and no, I'm not making them. No. Okay, just got a question. Military shirt? Are you making some kind of... No, I actually got this shirt because it matches my son's camouflage shirt. Bringwald. I actually have my tongue cramp. Bringwald. That's as close as I can get. And I've heard of it. I said it, but I don't think I can say it while I'm actively thinking about it, if that makes any sense. I don't know. And feel free to make fun of me. I am here to spread joy and education where I can. And if I can't, at least I'm going to amuse somebody. We got 3 viewers, 2 likes. Somebody hasn't hit the like button. And I don't know if it comes up by rest. I'm always pointing at the little emblem on my screen. It's probably not there on yours. One of these days I'm going to look for it. But, okay. What else do we have? Oh, okay. Yes. Okay. The trainer I was playing with is, again, they don't come this sexy safety orange. That's 100% pure me making it easier to see. but this is the Ontario RD Hawk Trainer. And it's a very strange little weapon. It's a strange little trainer. I probably should do a review on it. I will give you a hint. I think this is not enough to protect. That being said, I will never bash it fully because I wish if every combative knife and sword trainer company, everybody who made things like this, like Ontario does, made a matching trainer, people would be better at knife fighting, at axe fighting, at melee and self-defense because they would have the matching tools. Because they don't, I improvise with assorted things. And I encourage you to, skill being equal, since force depends on mass, how would a petite gal defend against a larger guy generally? Now, a lot of that depends on the weaponry and the style. I am a big if larger guys actually talk about that. Okay, pull out the book because I talk about that. Fortunately, small men and small women fight very similar. And instead of stuttering my way through what I'm thinking, I probably should pull it out. Oh, that's my old school. Man, I miss hand-to-hand. Okay, sorry. Where is that? It's a very famous picture around here because my buddy John Miner was the inspiration for it. Single, we got that. Ah ha ha. Much larger opponent. Bonk, bonk, bonk. It's actually listed on page 47. And a lot of it depends on some traits of what you're fighting. Okay? Always assume that you're fighting a weapon scaled to you. Now, if you are somebody trained in Spanish, for example, scaled to you in Spanish still means that's a pretty long frog sticker. One of my favorite weapons in the world is the cup hilt rapier. They are weapons of elegance, defense, and refinement. They're one of the most scientifically, artfully designed dueling weapons ever conceived. And my heart's saying, and I call it an extra long frog sticker. A lot of it's the mentality. So let's talk about that. As a smaller person, you're going to have to cheat. No. They have weight on you, they have height on you, they have reach on you. If you are playing a game like fencing, whatever, and possibly reality, it overlaps. I am a huge proponent of arm sniping. Hang outside of their comfortable reach. Don't target them, target their arm. That is a great way. Another thing that's really crucial, and something I did, and I took a class with Professor Peter, formerly Duke, formerly a lot of things, another exile, but a brilliant fighter, on what you're doing good, what you're doing well, because they always try to correct you instead of, in these sort of classes, what you're doing wrong. He did a class where it was what you're doing right, do more of that. And one thing I found as a lighter, weaker opponent, as a fencer especially, I refuse the blade. Do not allow yourself to get in a bind. Do not allow yourself to go tacto. Keep the blades from contacting and only avoid, deflect. You want grazing deflections. You don't want hard, because if you go strength versus strength, they'll win. So don't. Break that. Let their strength be redirected somewhere else. It's very, very important. Another thing you need to understand is, as a little person, once you get past the inertia break, and I'll talk about that, you're much more mobile in direction changes than a larger person, simply because you get into physics. The mass is going to make more force, right? Mass, velocity, force. Sound familiar? So they have to overcome that to be able to make sudden changes. A lot of being able to fight a larger or longer opponent is baiting them to coming at you and not being where they expect you to be. So that's going to be a lot of Spanish style footwork. That means tangential steps. So you've got the line of attack. Oh, do I have a good sword for that handy today? The short answer is no. The long answer is I'm sure I do. Well, here. You guys get this lovely crafted cane. All right. Poked at me. This is also right around the line of attack. This is a very Italian setup. Italian, German later, any of those styles where the weapon dominate the line of attack, control the line of attack. Let me get something short enough. I got a little poker. What? Toneberry is my spirit animal. You want to be coming off, and you want to be attacking as they come. So assuming this is the hand target area, the hand, whoop, you're coming off. So you bait them. What if you realize they are, especially as a fencer who's lunge happy, or this is the equivalent of the guy with the greatsword who likes that big power strike, the cleave kind of thing. Horizontal attacks are a little more difficult for the small person to do, unless you're really spry and can get under them. But a lot of it depends on what you're fighting. But the approach has to be to cheat. You have to come off the line. You want to target that. It might not be a bad idea to press from below. So we'll go to the graphic on page 48. This is my bread and butter, folks. If you want to know one graphic that shows the most kills I have ever gotten, it's a twofer. Now, there might be a dagger right here. That's fine. But coming under, lower than they can comfortably respond, if you have the knees for it, is just, it's a beautiful, the arcing rise shot. So you don't look at the kills straight on. Kills straight on, get blocked straight on. That makes sense. I'm sorry, my camera's a little high for this. You want to look at the concept of I need to parry up and that raise, the equivalent of throwing a hook, but you're arcing in and you're targeting the armpit is a great way to kill tall guys, especially if they ever table their swords. If you have a guy who chicken wings, so if they're tight, you're fine. This is hard. This is hard to kill. Somebody who is tight, elbows couched, they're very minimal movement. This is hard. This opens up. Look at this. Just think of it as the cone of I can get in there and hurt somebody. Another thing, understanding the conventions of the thing. If you can get in, nail a big guy in the knee in any situation, the taller people are more likely to have knee damage. It's just a reality. They're a little heavy set. You know that knee is probably going to give them trouble. When you're attacking a joint practically, now this is where we're going from convention, we don't want to hurt our friends, to this big guy's trying to hit me with a baseball bat, whatever, and I can't run away because you're boxed in. You always want to hit a hinge joint the way, the angle it's not supposed to travel. You either want to hyperextend it, so if they root their leg and you can get a good strike to just above or just below the kneecap, or you want to hit it from the side and force that tearing. That's a devastating approach. And it's hit and run. There is no room for unnecessary heroism. Is this heroic? Is this noble? Is this honorable? Heck no. Honor happens about why you fight. Okay? What do I mean? I don't want to fight. Let's not do this. Do you really want to do this? I'm not sneaking up on you. I'm not an aggressor. Because if I'm in that, it's not a fight. You're in war. That's a war mentality. I don't teach warfare. I teach defense. It's in the book. It's on the book right there. Manual of Defense. This is not manual of going out and ending dudes. I'd probably call that book Nick's Guide to Cutting Fence and Sorting Dudes Out. But, or something along those lines. That would be something where I'd have to consult with a few other people. That's this. This is a weapon of offense and surprise. They're not meant to see it coming, and they may be dead literally before they know it if you're using one of these right. But assuming that it's fair, which I despise a fair fight means something's gone wrong. Wow, Nick's in the mood tonight. Think about your major arteries that people don't think about. People will block their chest for days. They'll forget about the femoral artery in the upper thigh. You do a draw cut across somebody's inside thigh, you open that bad boy up. That's what you call an anime kill. That means their blood pressure is going to go from whatever it's cruising at, maybe 150, because they're hyped up, 175, whatever, to 0 right out that leg. And, can it be stopped with medical attention? Yes. Are they going to stay conscious? Not likely. Wounds to the groin are great for that. Again, the armpit is a fatality we should all know. It's very difficult to safely armor. That's why darting and triangles and even a light bit of padding is probably a good idea when you're fencing because it is so dangerous. Obviously, the necks. Knowing your anatomy and targeting theirs is going to be key because as a little person, when you're fighting a bigger person, you're not going to get chances. I've seen this many times. Big friends are like, oh, yeah. And maybe they're actually angry. Maybe they're effing around, but they're throwing blows and stuff. Here's the problem. As a little dude, you can't sustain that. Little dudes, let's take it navally. Big dudes are like a battleship. Cannon, gun show. Little dudes ain't this. I got 8 inches of armor plating, and I've got old Ironsides, cannonballs bouncing off my side. No. If you are so gifted, rock on. But if you are not, you're not. You got to think like a patrol boat, torpedo boat. This sneaky SOB is going to come in fast. They're going to come in hard. And they're going to take their one shot. And, buddy, that shot better make it. In game, depending on what you're doing. If it's a duel, you got to do the work. You got to get in there. You got to find an opening or manufacture an opening, throw a feat, get them to do something stupid because most of the time they're going to think of themselves as superior. So you're going to be working with ego in your favor. But if it's a melee, oh, brother, if you could get inside that firing arc we talked about last week, leg them and leave them. Very few groups know what to do in that. One thing that really ticked me off when I was doing SCA, because I did a lot of the melee practice, they found out, hey, this little furball's pretty good at melee stuff. It's the guys, oh, I'm legged. I'm going to stab myself to reach in. F that, and don't you ever train somebody to do that level of metagaming. It's cowardly, it's underhanded, and it defeats the purpose. If you have to rely on magic respawn points to get your tactics to work, your tactics don't work. Now, my group, and you can again ask Trey, ask Jason, ask Jim, ask Amanda, ask anybody who fought with me regularly. We train to fall around a legged person. So if somebody's down on their legs, their knees, they're taking the shot, they're on their butt, whatever their conventions are, however mobility is affected by the game. If they're mobile, our dudes, that just becomes the center of the shield wall. And we are going to hold our own, and we can take care of our own. Because that's how the guild rolls. And I'm still proud of that, and I still teach that. So, wow, my ghetto came out a little bit. That's how the guild rolls. There was no hesitation in that whatsoever. When one of yours goes down, you take care of them. I've handed them shields. Like, here, you need this more than I do. Plug, thank you. You know, this is why you carry a backup dagger. For them, no, here, dude. Here's a buckler. You can't move. You can take my buckler. I'll pull my backup dagger. We will do the job. By the way, if you do any HEMA or training stuff like we do, and you don't own one of these bad boys, or 2 or 6, get one. Yours probably will be this lovely safety orange. I swear, orange is not my favorite color in any way, shape, or form, but it's starting to creep up there just because my Halloween-looking weaponry just it's like, that's nice. He's so nice. He does the job. Okay. Wow. I don't know if I've handled that. Again, I'm going to say, when you are small, prepare. Okay? Preparation is everything. Underhandedness is welcome. Never, like, for writing, unless they are like a hardcore paladin small figure, and I've seen that done to great effect. I've seen halfling war dog cavaliers do charges in places no one would expect such a critter. It's a glorious sight to see. I'm not going to lie. Because nobody expects a miniature version of Don Quixote flying down a goblin tunnel on the back of a frickin' war dog, you know? I would take your kneecaps as my prize. Oh, let's see. We got a message. Let's see what's on the old message box. Boop, 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 boop. Okay. Boop. Sorry about that, folks. We're having some minor technical difficulties. Okay. Yes. So, to talk that kind of fight out, like I said, in general, especially as a smaller person, if you are good at fighting while retreating, you want to get them to overstand. Oh, good. Cindy kept says she got got those duels we discussed drafted. Exquisite. I'm really pleased to be able to help talk things out and help somebody write better fighting. And you write good fights. I've seen what you do. But anything to help improve it. Because I have certain pet peeves. And one of my great pet peeves is people who don't... the fighting doesn't make sense, or everybody fights the same. Example, one of my all-time, my notes helped. Yay! Fat Guy Happy Dance Part 2. Let's get it going. I can do things in a chair. Looks like I'm floating on the air. Okay, now, if, what was I saying? I totally lost it because I did too happy of a happy dance. Okay, small people, yeah. The weapons have to fit their personality, has to fit the style, and they're going to fight differently. It's a different. If you look at a semi-truck and a Prius, they're both vehicles. They're both on the road. They're going to go about being on the road totally different. Their processes are different. What they can do is different. What they can't do is different. You have to understand that. Fights are the same way. Your background's going to affect it. Your equipment is going to affect it. And I have rarely. There are there are two approaches of little people in a fight. Two. One is the one I usually. This is the cautious. This is the cutting. I've planned ahead, and they're going to approach. There is another approach, and it's terrifying when it's done with skill. That's the. I'm gonna cut you. I'm gonna cut you so many times you won't even know till you hit the ground. I know these people. I may have been some of these people at different points in my life. That's the dude who's going to be like, "Oh, we got to fight." What? The little dude's going to, realize the fight's escalating, jump it 3 notches, be on top of that, making with the stabby death. If you want to read a great survival knife manual, it is a real product, Cindy, and it's another one of those I recommend time and time again, and a lot of people don't believe it exists. It's Knife Fighting Techniques from Folsom Prison. There is no elegance, okay? There's no delusion. That is how to approach tearing up with a knife. And if you're going to know what your character is, so if you're writing a prisoner, I really recommend that. I'm a cut you. And then sometimes it's, I cut you already. I'm gonna, what? I cut you. And they look down and they're bleeding. Done. Hit first, hit last, be done. Ow. Great fun. More things. Unless you have a lot of training, still not. There are people and there are ways to do reverse grip, but I've never understood a smaller person with a medium weapon doing reverse grip. You need to gain a protection. I'm looking at you, Ahsoka, and I usually like how later Star Wars choreographs her fights. But I would really like to see more like Jedi types, Sith demonstrating the sword like a sword. My man Dooku fought a lightsaber, in my mind, exactly the best way. I don't care. Form 2 for life. This is a sword. Well, what are you going to do against blasters? Force lightning. That's a projectile. I will out-projectile your projectile with weaponized psychic hate. Done. And this is why I was the Defense Against the Dark Arts instructor in the Jedi Mythos universe many, many years ago. But, now, if you're going to play, and that's the thing, that's very different. Now, I've seen calm, cool people, one hit. Well, I'm not hitting you. Why? I'm not wasting my time till I make my stand. And that's where, again, my book, which I set down, has an important part, Cindy. And I really hope, because you bought it. She said she bought it. I don't know if you've gotten it. I want to hear what you think. But, and this is a survey book, okay? This is not the deep core book. This is how to skim the top. It talks about the types of people you fight. Okay. And yes, Contessa, I have not forgotten about your cloak video. It will be shot. It will be shot on my camera, not live because of necessity. It's just 107-degree heat index, and I know for a fact you don't want me dying doing that. So, let me find teaching techniques, calibration. For a second, I sounded like a Cylon. My problem is I've been looking at too many of my other writings and not deep diving my own book again. Alrighty. Starting somewhere around, read the dramatically smaller opponents video. That will help you with both sides of that. I got it. It's on my next to be read. I'm in the middle of an arc for about. Hey, you know what? This is a textbook. It's not. I understand its place. Don't be afraid. This is not the sword. Guy Windsor's companion of swordsmen or whatever. It's a good book. I can't remember the title, but it doesn't need none of this kissing or whatever. Thank you. I appreciate your patience more than anyone really realizes. But after we get past the some of the physical traits, the larger versus the smaller, especially, we start talking about mental traits in here. And we talk about an aggressive fencer, a defensive fencer, the dancer, the sniper. The sniper as a fencer is a scary dude. I'm sure you understand. Know the mentalities that you're going to face. When I get into the next book, The Strong Sword, which is going to be the sequel to this, which unfortunately is still delayed as I work on the hybrid stuff. I got to pay my bills, and contract work comes first. As that progresses, you're going to see more of what a defensive fighter, the single man shield wall kind of character, what this, advanced spearman moves like. We're going to talk about that sort of thing. But you have to kind of overlay the pieces. And what you want to do is be able to sort of find the character type the character type of who you're fighting, and thinking in terms like that. Now, I'm an old gamer. I'm an old D&D guy. So, I have friends who are small barbarians. One of my better friends is a young lady. Her name's Steph. You guys have seen her, and she is a barbarian. She's a axe wielding goblinoid, and I love her dearly because it's just fun to see her just like mincemeat people. I am the worst typist on the planet. I will admit that. Between keeping track of the words floating around and just general issues along that, fat thumbs, my typing gets clumsy, and I appreciate every single soul who tolerates those issues. So I do hope by next week to have a new neck knife. Yeah. I'm looking forward to that. And yes, if I get something other than what I normally was carrying, it would be reviewed. But I'm thinking I'm just going to replace this. If something else changes, I will let you know. Because there is a cheaper model out there, and that might just get a review. Because I guess somebody got me. You're that neck knife guy, and of all the things I do, I never expected neck knife guy to be the identifier. I'm not sure how I feel about that. 20 plus years teaching how to sword fight, a broad weapon spectrum, neck knife guy. Well, I suppose there are worse things to be. I could be a karambit guy. I'm kidding. Al, Steve, I am kidding. That was a joke. Much like the Hello Karambit, which you cannot destroy, Steve. Steve, you can't afford to destroy this thing. And one of these days I may make another one just to send you. But I know that annoys him and I can't help it. I'm a terrible person. Sue me! Actually, please don't sue me. I'm poor. No one would win from that. But, oh, let's see. Yes, I will go get them. Will I preach on? Yes, sir, I will preach on. Praise the Lord and pass the ammunition. If we're going to go, Brother Love's going to talk to you about the glory and beauty of the parry dagger and how it can be best to be applied to those who have annoyed you. if you like what you had, get it. Yeah, that's probably the plan. I got this one on sale at Menards for like $20. They regularly go for like 45. It was a steal. And a part of me's like, well, what happens if I find it and then I have two and it's gonna be awkward? No, then I can been trying to convince Amanda to get one anyway. And if I don't find it, I'm gonna see if I can't make a trainer that I can hang, that I can then fight with the trainer on a quick draw as a fallback, because I encourage all my students, one thing, and people have been asking, what do you play, Nick? Okay, this is great. You talk about how to play. What are your rules? Part of the rules that I teach is I encourage anyone who's active, anybody who's a combatant, to carry a backup weapon trainer at all times. Maybe a wibbly knife, it might just be a rubber dagger trainer, whatever, preferably as close to what you actually carry day to day, and then periodically attack each other. If it can be done safely. It has to be done safely, so there's a little caveat here. We're not going to be dickish about it, but don't be afraid to be like, oh, by the way, what'd you do? Well, son, I put the knife through the guy, and then I laughed as he died. This little dude has come out of my belt more times than I'd care to mention. This guy comes out all the time, but I've just been like, oh, by the way, Dad, you're not paying attention. You end up with these conversations where everybody's at just outside of arm length, and it looks like that gun scene, everybody's pointing at, yeah. And then they talk all that like that, and then they relax, and everybody gets loose till they get close. Then being me, I have to walk around behind them and stomp. Get them to jump. And no, I don't do that to anybody with PTSD. Wibbly knife! The wibbly knife was great. I miss it. We need to get you more. You just the wibbly knife is a glorious thing. And the wibbly knife, for those who don't know, it was a Tonto trainer I got. I think I scored this for a mighty $3. It's literally a rubber, silver-painted little Tonto, but it had no rigidity, so we do it. And I knew if Rachel was having a rough night, because I watch everybody, I pay attention. I could give her that. She feel better. Makes everybody feel better. And then every once in a while, when nobody's looking, she just kill somebody with a wibbly knife. And you can't be mad if you got killed with a wibbly knife. It's just it's a wibbly knife. Okay. And that technically counts as a soft trainer because there's no rigidity to it. It's just all the wibbling wore out. It just snapped in half one day. Man, between my neck knife and the original wibbly knife, we might have to press F in the comments to mourn. But what else do we need to talk about, guys? Because I had a whole lot, and we've actually been getting to the conventions. For people interested in my lovely book, the conventions and the rules of how we play are right here. And this graph having to be in color is what kept the price of this book up a little higher than I wanted it. Because if I didn't have these, a few color graphics and just kept it black and white, it would have been much less expensive. But I think the necessity of being able to see the weapons clearly makes it worth it. And to the question, yes, when the next book comes out, it will feature stick figures. Now, someday I may do an omnibus, and if I'm still mobile and if I have mobile people, we may put some photos in there. Probably not, because everybody's like, Nick, I love the stick figures. So, we're hour and a half. I went right by my usual hour break chat. So I'm gonna take a second here. Oh, go. Mio Black Cherry extra strong so that I can stay awake through this. As always, I'm brought to you by Nicholas Tucker. Sorry, let me restart that. Amazon.com/authors/Nicholas Tucker. That's me. You'll find The Simple Sword. You'll find Big Stumpy Robots. You'll find a few other neat writings and works in progress. I am always taking into suggestions what I can write on, because, I know some people want manuals, or, and I might just do short kind of brochure style manuals on a very specific weapon style. If that's something that appeals to people, just like a Cliff's Notes guide to how to make an axe go or something. If that's something you would find interesting, comment. Let me know. And hit the like button and subscribe. We still have another half hour. I usually open it up to questions, half hour ago, but we've kind of been very flowy today. We've had a lot of input, a lot of output. And I want to thank Cindy Kemp especially both for coming, because I know that she's tangled up in the same author group that I'm tangled up with through the wonderful Brian K. Morris, who I am shamelessly plugging. He runs Rising Tide Publishing, and while I'm getting nothing financial for this, I'm plugging him anyway. Great man. Look him up. Follow his stuff. I'm also going to plug Terraform Comics, which is ran by the incredible Luke Stone, author and creator of the Hybrids comic that I have some involvement in doing the RPG for them. So we're going to plug that. If you really want to help me keep the lights on for this and afford cutting boards so that I can make trainers and such, consider becoming a patron. $1 a month not only would help me, it's a tremendous boost to my ego. I want to thank a few people. I want to thank obviously Ren Contessa. She's a patron and a supporter and a friend. I want to thank Steve Clausen for his amazingly random donations and the challenge encouragement to get me to do things that I don't normally do. And I really want to shout out to my dear friend Steve Augusto, who has been pretty much my patron from day one. He's going through a lot. I've almost talked him into having a YouTube channel so I can, pay it back a bit and plug his stuff. We'll see how that goes. I like to help folks. There's that. While we're Cindy, please put in the comments as you the links to your books, because she's doing some really neat things. Anybody who wants to put that much effort into writing well choreographed, she is the most organized fight choreographer I've ever seen when it comes to writing how a fight's going to go. And yes, to the folks who've asked me when will Ren be doing her project, whatever it may turn out to be, she has unlimited timeline. No pressure on her, guys. Support, but no pressure. I won't tolerate it. But, okay, sorry. While we're talking, I want to thank you guys, my Patreon. I also am an artist. Some people wanted to know what else I do. If you go to www.deviantart.com/NickT, I've been there for 16 years, putting up anime and goofy art. You're going to see a lot of stuff there. So I don't make any money off of that, but that's just good stuff for my relative ego. I guess I have one of those, or that I've heard that people can have esteem of the self, So since I find this an interesting concept, I'm going to experiment a little bit with that as a change to my usual seeing myself as a disposable, useful tool like that floats through the world. But commentary. Uh, favorite favorite neck knife. It would be here. It'd be the CRKT Minimalist Drop Point, originally in black. It is not here right now. What do I think of the cheaper one? Because I mentioned it. I've looked at it. I might, like I said, I might order it. It's like $10, and I was under strict orders not to order a cheaper replacement because there's always going to be a reason why it's cheaper. And my wife gave me the look and followed it with my full first name. So if I hear Nicholas, I know whatever I'm thinking is an error. This is something you develop after almost 20 years of marriage. We're getting real close. I think is this 18? Yeah, this will be 18 years married, 20 years together. Because we dated for like 2 years. People used to do that at one point. And that's in a couple months. Wow. The time just goes. But that's cool. You don't find people like that often. Yes, I will answer any other questions. Best fight movie. You can't say best fight movie. Actually, yeah, you can. Princess Bride, Duel on the Cliff. I'm a fencer. Suck it. The Michael York Three Musketeers are way up there. Again, I'm a fencer. See something. And there is a really great version of Count of Monte Cristo. I just have to be careful not to accidentally call that the sandwich when my speech impediment gets a hold of it. But I enjoy the Star Wars fights, even if I see twitchiness. They're still always fun. Dooku. The answer is Dooku. My favorite Star Wars fighter is Christopher Lee. And if they'd made the movies 20 years sooner, he would have won. I said it. The dark side would have prevailed. No doubt. Followed by Ray Park, not for his famous Duel of the Fates choreography, because while it was beautiful, it was a little gappy and a little too jumpy. I have problems with people not force pushing others while they're in the air and there's no resistance. That being said, yeah. See, I kind of like the geeky questions. The geeky questions do amuse. Bunraku. There's a movie. It's Bunraku. It features Woody Harrelson, Ron Perlman, Debbie Moore's in it. I can't remember the name of the samurai and the gunslinger. Who isn't a gunslinger? The cowboy. That's what I'm looking for. That being said, it is one of my favorite weapon-based fight movies. People are going to say Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, but I prefer pre-wire fu kung fu movies. I just have, or very limited for that. Oh God, what is the name of that movie? Oh, come on, not The Dragon's Revenge. God, there was the guy with Secret Kung Fu, and there's another movie, and it's gonna pain me that I can't think of it because it's one of my favorites. But it's got like crazy magnetic swords and really cheesy stuff. Great fun. Oh, now, Ren, my love, my Contessa. Congratulations. Thank you. The choreography in Sleepy Hollow. Ray Park is an amazing, amazing martial artist. And Sleepy Hollow, There was a period in time where Tim Burton and Johnny Depp had to think about making a good movie. And they could be hit and miss together because they both think their ideas are the best. And it's this weird thing, oddly enough, where Tim Burton has Johnny Depp sleep with a character played by his wife and usually kill her. There's this odd thing there. But Sleepy Hollow is easily top 5 Halloween movies of all time. Like it's one of my all-time favorite movies. Period. Ray Park is phenomenal in it. He does all the walking headless horseman fight scenes. The silent. Ray Park doesn't need lines. He just needs awesomeness. Just let him be awesome, and he was. But yeah, that's one of my all-time. If I were wealthy, my house would be almost forever Sleepy Hollow themed. Like that aesthetic with the gnarly trees and the old stonework and that subtle Burtonization of the architecture, not like full Gotham City Twisted, but like the subtle stuff. It's glorious. But yes, that's one of my all-time favorite movie fight scenes. I'll think of some more. I may do a whole like videos you should watch if you want to see good fighting. There is, I want to say it's either Polish or it's a Russian. It's like a World War One movie with this saber fight in the rain, and I'm not sure it wasn't just the two actors who'd been trained for a long time deciding to go out and try to kill each other. It's brutal and beautiful, and I can't remember the movie's name, but it's a must watch if I can remember it. If you're watching a samurai movie, go Kurosawa. My speech impediment. You know who I mean. Watch his stuff. The original Seven Samurai. Amazing. Well, it's good enough that some of the best westerns of all time, the Magnificent Seven variants, because it's been done a few times, the concept is that good, and the fights are just phenomenal and gritty. Wolf and Cub, good things like that. Yeah. Favorite thrown weapon? Knives. Throwing axes is good, but a tomahawk is a beautiful thing to throw, a good one. But my favorite to watch was at the lumberjack games when they were throwing double-bitted felling axes, because it's not a two-handed over, and you hear it woof, 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 thud. That's throwing an axe. That's beautiful. Yeah. But personally, my favorites are probably my Timberwolf TW22s that have been stripped of their rubberized handle because it goes to hell. So, yes, to the person asking, if you see something that's this ugly, it's been used. But you'll notice there's no rust on mine. And no real damage other than the removal, because I treat my tools pretty well. I use them, but I care for them. And they care for me. Okay, I got a question about, Nick, you have money. What knife would you buy? Right now? This is a vetch. I'm looking. If I was buying any knife, it's gonna surprise a lot of you. I probably, believe it or not, it's a dive knife, and it was designed by Brody. Brody? He I can't remember his last name now. I'm horrible with names right now. The guy who runs the Youngbloods channel. He did the Jacko knife, and it's a customized dive knife he designed. He very stout. It's great for like fishermen and practicality. Good, he put a lot of time into it. It's money. not counting replacing my beloved neck knife. There are a few others on my list. Like a full-size K-bar would be cool. Angel Sword makes some really nifty things, but I'd have to really handle it because, and yes, the follow-up, obviously, what sword? Sword's much easier. I would love a Spanish military small sword in the Bilbao style. So it's got that wrap hilt, the quillions, but it's a small sword because that would fit me. Pair that off with a nice sort of a minimalist parry dagger, but with a good stout guard. I don't know if it exists. I may have to make it myself. Which, oh no. Am I brand loyal? There are a few things I'm brand loyal on. Like I said, I'm a big fan of the CRKT knife, but I've heard they've changed a lot in production since when I got mine, which is what scares me. The Baraz makes some really BAR-RAZ makes some beautiful affordable Damascus knives. I have one. If I had known I was going to answer this, I would go get it. I'm not normally a Damascus guy. I'm a practical guy, and a lot of it depends on what I'm planning to do. I don't really have that survival knife that the carbon steel that you can run a ferro rod off of, mid to slightly heavy knife. I may end up just, again, to get the right knife for me, I'll probably have to forge it myself, and I still want to make a Dusek because I just think Duseks are sexy, and it's on my forging bucket list. So yeah, please, if you are capable, put the comments in on YouTube, because I think people like to see the comments and they want to respond to them. But yeah, so thank you, Anon. Steve, yes. See, my friend Mr. Augusto actually usually only gets to watch these videos after they've been up, not live, Steve. Not live, so I'm going to try to get him on. But yeah, Steve helps keep the lights on, and I appreciate that. I appreciate the people who've done other donations. No. I will continue to buy weapons scaled to me. I don't care if you tell me it's not a sword. In your hands, it's not a sword. In my hands, it is. So don't be a twit. Yeah. Well, I've got a little bit of feisty today. We still have 15 more minutes before my usual cutoff. Let me see if we have anything else coming up in commentary. We're actually a little low on some of the classic commentary because I'm competing with a couple weekly shows that, there we go, have saved that material for a request for later. Whenever I get a commission or a request, I take a picture of it, the comment, so I can find it later and not lose it in the swamp. Because shockingly, I'm artistic, creative, and insane, so organization is not my strong suit. I really am one of those people who probably should have someone following around behind me just to keep things straight. I don't know. Elon Musk needs to step up the robotics game already. What hand style should people learn? What do you want to do? If you're an MMA guy, from everything I've heard, a mix of judo, BJJ, bit of old-fashioned boxing, and a bit of old-fashioned wrestling will give you a well-rounded education. Now, that's not my strong suit, and there are people on YouTube who are far better than me for discussing that, but there you go. Uh, yeah, so and please consider putting your comments in the YouTube feed so people can see them. I know some of you are very shy about your identities, and I understand and I respect that. But this is a great chance. I'm here to answer your questions, and I dig it. I love answering people's questions. And I do hope I'm still feeding right. It's been quiet. Oh, how do you size a rapier to you? Wonderful. My favorite questions. And see, I love it because she's asking this. It's not in the book. A rapier or thrusting weapon should the blade, not the weapon, should go from your outstretched fingers. Well, give me just a second. Respect the weapon, Nikolai. And yeah, I just dropped things and sent paper flying. It's artistic. It happens. Oh, what was it? Big Stoppy Robots. Well, the old quick play print-offs. Because I think people should be able to have fun blowing up their tables. Anyhow. The blade should optimally go from an outstretched longest finger to your center line, like so. This rapier out is perfectly sized for me. This is a 34. With the grip, it gives me close to a 36. This was either a misprint or something strange happened, but I've had it for decades now, and I still love it. Yes, I will restore it. Maybe I'll do a video. I'm not sure. I may do like a before and after kind of thing, because that's sort of almost spiritual. That's about optimum, and I say that for comfort of draw. Spanish rapiers do tend to be longer, but remember, those are weapons for dueling. A specialized dueling weapon lives under the guise of you're going to have manners and how it comes about. I don't, it's presumed you can get your draw, do your salutes, have a wonderful time, and then make with the stabbity death. But if you're not, I would say a shorter weapon because you can get it out faster. And again, with the modified, this is a little short, but this is a more concussive small sword style, and it's going to be easier for me to draw. Hence my modified small sword. If you want to do one of these yourself, you simply need to purchase a Wujia Tai Chi sword. They run about $22, $25. It fluctuates on Amazon. And then you just pull the guard off, snap the pommel, because it could snap anyway, and wrap a chunk of HDPE, add this lovely threaded bolt through. This is still one of the most nimble weapons I've ever created. I absolutely adore it. I hope that answers your question. Oh, I love getting my toys out a little bit. I miss fighting some folks, though. I'd just about killed to have, Trey out and get a good spar on. And, of course, Ren. Ren knows I want to trade and spar with her. 10 years ago today, I was working with her 3 houses ago. Sorry, if I count this 1, 2, 3, back. In the backyard, giving her a walkthrough, and it was one of my happier memories because it was at a time when things were really bad for me, and sometimes when it gets bad, and I lose that sense of purpose because the world's beating me down a bit. Helping people is part of how I come back, and helping people with what I do, like this, is it's sort of how I save myself from myself, if that makes any sense. And if it doesn't, it sort of makes sense to me. So there you go. But yeah, You don't want to go much longer. Now, a lot of times you will find very specific lengths. Common rapier lengths, for people who don't know, is classic 36 is a popular 40, 36, 38, like 40 has fallen out of favor, actually. Usually, that because by maker switches, 43 is really popular right now, the 43 Hanway, if you're fencing. But for me, that would be a very tall person with a very long arm. Um, I still, this guy's my 30, and it fits the palm of my hand. This is a very comfortable with the heavy pommel. Now you have to understand, don't be thrown off by that. Yeah, that was easily one of my best days, just because it was so pleasant. Uh, you with a rapier, the big pommel is what's going to keep the weight balanced, and the closer you bring the tip, the balance point to the grip where the guard meets, this is the sweet spot. And as I recall, the balance on this is really close. I have to double check. Now, it's thrown off a bit because I have the necessary tip with the washer inlay. I have a plug. It's not a washer. It's actually a solid slug. But if I recall, this is 2 fingers. Yeah, this is actually balanced, if you can see, at the grind line. This is superb. This flows organically easily in the hand. Now you'll note the diameter of this is roughly that of my thumb. Very comfortable for a small hand. Beware excessively large hilts for the sheer comfort factor. This is probably my most comfortable sword. I love that. I had this rigged a long time ago as a sort of match to that, and I found they clashed a bit. But boy, this is just bread and butter. And yeah, that's through Zen Warrior Armory, which, if you're buying steel fencing swords, is still my favorite. If you're going synthetics, I will pick Purple Heart over South Coast or / Black Fencer, because Purple Heart's American, and I've dealt with the guys who make the weapons. I've handled their Penty line. It's beautiful. I don't own one because it's over the price I can explain. But they are the guys who brought the gorgeous Italian Tactical. Now, this is very short, but if you look, this is the length of my arm. So for a more concussive, aggressive infighting weapon, this is beautiful. I love the sword. I could do with the hilt being slightly narrower, and I've considered taking this beautiful wrapping off more times than I care to mention, but I can't bring myself to do it. So I'll figure it out. Or I'll get another one and cut it down one of these days. I'll get really froggy. So we have that. I have some homemade ones that I need to get out of the garage to show you. They're made out of HDP that are nice, and they're actually shorter than that. But again, I'm a big fan of a 24-inch blade is great as a cutlass. But yeah, rapier, it's a measuring game. You want to know the length of a rapier blade, you just measure your outstretched finger to the center of your sternum straight, from here to here. This is between 34 and 36, depending on how, fluctuations and such. I have a lot more fluctuations in all my measurements because my joints pop out and do strange things. Yeah, we are almost at the 2-hour mark. I've been prattling on a whole lot. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. So I probably should do my wind down, which usually gets me to have 3 to 5 more people pop up to see how long they can keep me talking. Which I don't mind. I love you guys, and I love helping you guys, and I hope you guys are entertained. Y'all do good. Good. Thank you. That's what I'm looking for. Again, and every time I post, I put the same gobbledygook at the bottom of my video. I'm sorry, I just had a pop-up ad block what I'm doing. There we go. Yay, touchscreen. Buy the book, guys. It's as cheap as I can make it. Inexpensive, not quality-wise. It's inexpensive. This is a good book. Cindy's got one coming, or it's there. It's on her to be read. I will love to see what she takes out of it because it's very common English. Martial arts manuals tend to be foreign. Gigante's both temporally foreign. You're finding 1500s, 1600s era. So you have linguistic difficulties. You have advanced terminologies that, believe it or not, you may not need to know. Well, you won't understand. No. If you want to deep dive and get there, I encourage it. Deep dive and get there. But we need entry level. There's too much gatekeeping in this study. I want to see people of color fencing. I want to see people of assorted genders. I don't care who or what you are. I mean, correct me with your pronouns, whatever. But I'm not. I want to see how you fight. And yes, I had somebody come up. What about transgender individuals for the ladies fighting? They are still women, sure. But wherever you are, your skeletal structure, no matter what hormones you take, isn't going to change much. So that has to be a factor, and that's not a popularity thing. It's just understand your skeletal structure. I'm a dude. I am a white male. As what you see is what you get. Visually, and I still have male fist, female fist. Don't let that bog you down, and don't let that intimidate you. Haha, my phone fell, which came unplugged for a second, hence that lovely chime noise. Sorry about that, folks. Other than that, I like to try to get all the way to that 2-hour mark. It's just a matter of I feel I'm putting in my hours for you. I want to earn my monthly pay, And if you have requests, if you have things, what you give me is what I can give back. Okay, I can prattle on, obviously. I can pull stuff out of thin air, and I can answer questions. But I'd rather answer questions. I'd rather have somebody ask, how should this go? Where do I go? I am a resource. I am mana. Tap me like a black lotus. Okay. So, and while we're at it, comment what weapons you want to see me highlight, what styles you want me to highlight, because I know a lot, and if I don't, I can skim it enough to see if I want to be able to talk about it or not. Like I said, I do plan in the very near future to do basically a ridiculous quantity of product reviews. I'm way behind, so it might take a while to get them all out. But they are coming, and as I get that set up, they will be released. It's not going to be regimented. To the people who asked, with things opening, with things closing, I will not open up my area to practice like it was until it is safe. Hard stop. So if I'm a spike as bad as the worst days, I'm not going to do it. I will not endanger your lives for my amusement any more than the sword fighting does. Yes, I do have. Yes, I do have firearms interests, but this is not a firearms channel, so I don't tend to get too hard into them. Long story short, I like wheel guns. I think revolvers are cool. Older style guns, largely because I have small hands. That comes back to it a lot. The lever action wave right now is not hurting my feelings. We'll put it that way. I think they're cool. And obviously, I'm not looking to start, anything with that. Oh, next week maybe we'll talk more about over-the-counter body armor. I was going to go into body armor more, and we lost it. But as usual, I want to thank everybody, especially the folks who commented, being the amazingly talented Cindy Kep and my beloved Ren Contessa. And I think we had a couple more. Did we have? Nope. That's you guys today. Oh, to the assorted people who wish to be anonymous and ping me as such, thank you for asking questions. Apparently, a lot of them will ping me the question and then watch for the answer later. So that's a thing. Otherwise, like, share, subscribe, ring the bell so you don't miss anything. Buy my books. Be good to each other. Support each other. Be good to yourself. You are wonderful, even if you can't see it. And as always, support your local swordmaster.